Hello everyone. This video contains information on different thermometers that I use and ways that I monitor temperatures in my indoor tortoise enclosures. I do use a variety of different ways of doing this, so hopefully this video will give you a few ideas on what you can use in your setups. The topics that I'll be covering in this video are the different types of thermometers and ways of monitoring temperatures that I currently use in my indoor tortoise enclosures. And for each of these I'll give you some of the pros and cons, the prices at the time of making this video, as well as what I use the thermometer for. First we'll cover the analogue thermometer, and this is an TERRA dial thermometer and it cost me between £3 and £4. I find this one useful to see at a quick glance what the current temperature is. Although I have found that once you've stuck the thermometer in place, it's not that easy to move to a different position or area of your tortoise table without having to replace the foam pad at the back of the thermometer. I only use this thermometer as a rough guide, as analogue thermometers are not always accurate and reliable, so I'd strongly recommend having a digital thermometer to double check the temperatures rather than just relying on this one thermometer. And I use this one in the basking and sleeping areas. Next we'll cover a digital thermometer. This is a TERRA digital thermometer and it cost me between £12 and £15. I found this thermometer particularly useful as it saves the minimum and maximum temperature, so it's ideal for monitoring the temperatures in an area over a longer period. I've tried out a few of the digital thermometers in this price bracket, and so far I found this brand to be reliable and fairly accurate within 1 or 2 degrees. I found that the suction pad doesn't work on the wood or plastic in my tortoise enclosures, but it still works fine without using this. It's also much easier to move the probe to different areas of the tortoise table so that you can monitor other key temperatures compared to using the dial thermometer that we talked about previously. I use this every day to monitor the min and max temperature ranges in all of my tortoise enclosures, both overnight and during the day. I also use this alongside the analogue thermometers to periodically test the basking area temperatures, as well as using in new enclosures so that I can test the 4 key temperatures, which are the basking area, the warmer end, cooler end and overnight temperatures. And I also use this thermometer in my incubators and hibernation fridge. Next I'll cover the thermometer that I use for testing the tortoise's bath water. If you've seen another of my videos on bathing your baby tortoise, you may have spotted me using this thermometer. Unfortunately the on-off button no longer works, but for years this was a really useful and accurate thermometer. The thermometer that I now use is this TOPELEK kitchen thermometer and it cost me around £6. This one is just as accurate as my original one, but the display is quite small and it's not that easy to read. Also, as the thermometer display isn't waterproof, I need to make sure that my hands are dried each time I use it. Plus, I can't balance the probe against the side of the tub in case it accidentally falls in the water and damages the thermometer. So, although both of these are just as accurate, for convenience my preference is the one that I can switch on and leave in the water for the duration of their bath. Next, I'll cover the temperature gun. This is one of the more accurate temperature checking devices and it cost me around £30. It gives you the surface temperature instantly and it has an infrared dot to help you see what you're taking the temperature of. Each temperature gun has a distance to spot ratio and that tells you the diameter of the area that you're measuring compared to the distance you are from the target or gun. So for example, a DS ratio of 12:1 means that at 12 inches away you'll be measuring a spot size of approximately 1 inch. The distance to spot ratio varies between infrared guns, so you need to check the label on your thermometer. Also, it's worth pointing out that the dot from the red laser beam isn't the size of what you're measuring, it's just roughly the centre of the spot size. Any shiny or reflective surfaces can produce less accurate readings. This is due to the way that they emit infrared energy. It's all very technical, but to keep it simple, if a shiny object like stainless steel happens to be within the spot size that you're measuring, you may have a slightly less accurate reading. You also need to be very careful not to point the laser beam anywhere near your or your tortoise's eyes, as this can be very harmful. I find this very useful to check for drafts or insulation leaks in my tortoise's indoor enclosures, as it allows you to scan an area to find any cold spots. I also use it to double check the current temperature in other key areas of the tortoise table, for example under the basking lamp, but these will give slightly different surface temperature readings compared to, for example, the probe on your digital thermometer, which is measuring the air temperature. Next, I'll be covering a data logger. This is a device that will record the temperature at different intervals so that you can then download the data onto your computer, and then you can look at the information and then adjust the temperatures as required. I have two of these data loggers and they cost approximately £30 each. Unfortunately, the INKBIRD data logger isn't compatible with my computer since I upgraded it, so I had to get the replacement here, which is the ELITECH data logger. I personally prefer this to the INKBIRD one, as it has separate probes that I can use in different areas of the tortoise enclosures without any risk of the substrate getting into the device or the tortoises trampling over it. Although it is a bit fiddly to get the data logger set up initially, as you have to download and install the software onto your computer first, it is really easy to use, and it does allow you to analyse the temperature fluctuations in detail, as well as producing some nice graphs. Like for example this graph, which was captured from one of my incubators when I was testing it before putting any eggs into it. And this graph here shows the temperatures over a period of time in the hibernation fridge, whilst I was testing it ready to hibernate my Mediterranean spur-thighed tortoises. I use the data logger when I set up new enclosures, the hibernation fridge and incubators. And I do this so that I can monitor temperatures in different areas over a longer period, so that I can make adjustments before introducing tortoises into these new areas. Another device that I have is an electronic plug-in thermostat. And this one is by TIMEGUARD and it cost me around £21. I use these to plug in heaters in my outdoor shed, so that the heater will kick in when the temperatures go below a preset temperature and will switch off once the temperature has been reached. Unfortunately, this model only detects the air temperature around the device, as the temperature sensor is inbuilt. So this means that the temperatures are being measured at socket height rather than the floor temperatures where your tortoise is. And as heat rises, it will often be cooler on the floor than it is at socket height, so you'll need to factor this in when you're setting up the device. Next we have the ISOCKET Environment Pro. This device can be programmed to text you if there's a power outage, or if temperatures go below or above certain temperatures in your tortoise's enclosure. It is quite expensive and it cost me around £130, but I personally wouldn't be without this, as it gives me peace of mind that if there's a problem that I'll know about it straight away. It has a separate probe so that you can monitor a specific area in your tortoise's enclosure. It also has a socket which you could, for example, plug a heater in, and then if you get a text to say the temperatures are too low, then you can text the device to switch the heater on remotely. You'll need to remember to top up your SIM card, as it doesn't warn you if there isn't enough money left to send you a text message, so you could potentially miss out on important text messages. Also, I found that the eye socket doesn't reset itself until the warning temperature has gone up or down by 4 degrees. However, the manufacturer have said that they can adjust this from 4 degrees down to 1 degree if required. Another thing to bear in mind is that you'll need to have your phone near you so you can hear the text if it comes through in the middle of the night, or if you're in a noisy area. I have this permanently set up in my tortoise's heated shed, so I'm notified of any power outages and any potential temperature issues, so that I can immediately resolve any problems. And finally, some other points that I wanted to briefly mention are: once you've tested the temperatures in your setup, don't be tempted to pack away the thermometers and assume everything will now be fine from this point forward, as there are many other factors that may affect the temperature. For example, different seasons, household temperature fluctuations, air conditioning, heating, moving your tortoise table to a different room in the house, different wattage bulbs, etc. So it's important to keep monitoring your tortoise table temperatures so that you can make adjustments as required to keep your tortoise healthy. Please also bear in mind that different breeds of tortoise require different temperatures and temperature gradients in their enclosures, so you'll need to know the temperature ranges your tortoise requires before testing. Any thermometer that you do use, I strongly recommend double checking the accuracy of it regularly to make sure it's working as expected to prevent your tortoise becoming ill due to incorrect temperatures. I do have another video on how you can test and check the accuracy of your thermometer, and I'll leave a link in the description for you. There are obviously loads of different options out there, and some are just as good as the ones I've been through, but these are my personal favourites and therefore the ones I'll be happy to recommend. I purposely haven't included any hygrometers in this video. These are the ones that measure the humidity levels in your tortoise's enclosure, as that's a whole different topic for another video. I will, however, leave a link in the description for the humidity videos once I've completed them. As always, I love hearing from you, so if you've used any of the different thermometers that I've been through in this video, or you use a different thermometer or method for monitoring or controlling temperatures, then please share your experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video, and if you've enjoyed it, please click the thumbs up and subscribe to see my other videos.